What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And right now, I'd like to give you guys my quick review on the new documentary, More Than Miyagi, the Pat Morita story. And this is essential viewing if you're a Cobra Kai fan. This is essential viewing if you are a Karate Kid fan, because it dives into the life of Pat Morita, the man that played Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid Part 2, the Karate Kid Part 3, and the next Karate Kid. Played this character in all three movies, and it really explored his life before, in three chapters: before the Karate Kid, and then after the Karate Kid. And it really told the story of, number one, just a phenomenal person. Just somebody who was coming up and making his career as a comedian, and eventually trying to break into acting in Hollywood. He was doing this at a time when there was kind of anti-Asian sentiments in a lot of people, right? We learned that he was in an internment camp during the World War II years, and then afterward he struggled to get his big break, because there was that. Well, we've talked about before how Hollywood for a long time was an all white men's club. It was just a club that was for dudes and white dudes, and we've seen Hollywood try to break. Hollywood has, let's be honest, Hollywood has broken that trend now. Hollywood is not all about white dudes anymore. But it was. And very few people were able to kind of break that glass ceiling and make a career for themselves at a time when Hollywood was about white dudes. And Pat Morita was one of those people, and he did so through his comedy, and he did it through self-effacing comedy. He was making fun of himself, making fun of Japanese people, making fun of Asian people. In fact, he took on a lot of roles that today we'd look at as being racist. And he may or may not have had that viewpoint on them when he was acting. He had a viewpoint on them was, I'm an Asian guy who's acting. If I gotta act like an idiot, stereotypical idiot, then I'm gonna act like a stereotypical idiot because I'm an Asian guy who's acting. But people like him, people like Pat Morita, and they interviewed several other Asian actors during the documentary. People like him knew, yeah, okay, this was racist, but it allowed us to now have a voice in Hollywood, and they were able to change Hollywood, to begin planting those seeds so Hollywood could be changed from the inside. And it was just a beautiful story about perseverance and about being the best you can be, the best version of yourself. And he was that best version of himself when he finally took on the role of Mr. Miyagi, when he got people to take him seriously as an actor. They didn't want to cast him in the role of Mr. Miyagi. They wanted somebody else. They didn't want a comedian. And the fact that he was able to win them over through his auditions, and then have that role become not just an Academy Award nominated role, but a role that would define his career, it definitely created this time period where it was just Pat Morita being perfect Pat Morita, right? Pat Morita, if people don't know this, if you've only seen the Karate Kid movies, he didn't have an accent. He talked like any of us, right? He was an American, but it was really fun to see some of the behind the scenes stuff that was going on, and listen to Ralph Macchio and William Zabka and Martin Kove and other people from the Karate Kid. They told us about their experiences with Pat Morita, and it just seems like he was a fantastic guy who was professional, but also had a lot of love and compassion and empathy for everybody around him, it makes me love the guy even more. And then we get into his post-Karate Kid years. And those are the years when it seemed like there was really a lot of pain there. We had, we learned that he was an alcoholic, and he was an alcoholic pretty much his whole life. But we learned that in his later years, the alcoholism really started to take its toll on him. Started to affect him physically, and started to affect his career as an actor. being an aging actor is hard enough in Hollywood, let alone an Asian aging actor. It's hard enough in Hollywood, but then when you've got alcoholism on top of that, and it affecting your physical appearance and whatnot, it really took a toll on him. And in fact, there was a time late in his life, he didn't have much time left when he actually approached the creators of the Karate Kid about telling another Miyagi centric story. He didn't want to be done with Miyagi. He thought that there was more to be done with the character. And the creators talked about how sad it was to have to tell him no, that it's done. The next Karate Kid was it. And it would have been very cool to see, unfortunately he's not with us today, because I'd have loved to have seen him in Cobra Kai, at least in a small role. But you know what? He's there. He's in Cobra Kai. He may not be physically there, but his character, the character that he brought to life, excuse me, is just permeates the show. And that's actually something that Ralph Macchio talks about, was that they didn't want to do Cobra Kai unless the show just had his presence all over it. So More Than Miyagi was a very interesting story about a very interesting character in the history of Hollywood. And I would recommend it to anybody who likes film, but I would especially recommend it to anybody who likes Cobra Kai and The Karate Kid. So I'm not going to really give this one a grade. I usually don't give documentaries grades. Just know that it was really interesting, very informative on his life, and definitely painted this picture of somebody who lived a tragic life in some ways and a privileged life in other ways. Just not privileged from a socioeconomic sense, but privileged from the stuff that he got to do, the people he got to know, the experiences he got to have. Just like I said, tragic in a lot of ways, but very privileged in others. So just it was a very very good documentary to watch. So that's it. What did you guys think of More Than Miyagi, the Pat Morita story? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. While you're down there, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out a lot of content, and I want to make sure you're up to date with everything that I'm doing. And as always, thank you so much for joining me right here at the Yoki Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.